Hi, welcome back to Box of Delights. I've got a new film for you. This one has been voted on by my Facebook followers. This was for the 200th game to feature on the Box of Delights YouTube channel, and we've chosen Mage Knight. Now what I've decided to do for this series is play Shades of Tezla. Tezla is an expansion. We've got one new character, we've got some new enemy abilities, some new enemy tokens, significantly ambush and pursuit. Some enemies have vampiric as well, and also it introduces these faction tokens, which are like little rewards that get dropped by the enemies you defeat. There's a number of different scenarios in this expansion. We have the life and death, which is, I guess, the solo conquest equivalent. It has cooperative and competitive modes. Each scenario does. We've got the Realm of the Dead and the Hidden Valley. There's a very short campaign as well called Lost Relic, which is just 1 day and 1 night. And the other thing that these rules introduce is the ability to start at a higher level. So you can start with a certain number of fame and cards in your deck and certain tiles revealed. So what I thought I'd play is, I've actually had a little look on YouTube to see what was out there for Shades of Tezla. Not a great deal. So I thought I'd try Hidden Valley and give you Hidden Valley solo. Now the Hidden Valley is going to use just one of the new factions. There's two of these big faction tokens. Some new enemies are for the Elementalists and some for the Dark Crusaders. We're going to be using the Elementalists faction. What these faction tokens give you is they're much like a city, and in a city we had, where's my cities? You had these clicks, dials, that changed the levels, okay, which enemies you would face and so on. An enemy faction is the same, but there's no standee for it. Instead, we'll use a token to mark where we are on the dial. The other thing about these faction tokens is, like a city, you have to defeat them, but they click down. Okay, so you can kind of partially defeat them, and they click down, and it changes their attack and the types of abilities they have as they click down. It's quite interesting. It's a fascinating new way to play Mage Knight, and it offers you the challenge of really trying to knock them out in one go, so you don't have this clicking down effect. If you can knock them out in one go, that's so much better. Here's our faction tokens. Here, we're not going to need these Dark Crusader ones, we're going to need these. I like to play out of the box, so I'm going to shuffle everything up and put things back in the box. And for this series, we'll play through this Hidden Valley scenario. I'll try not to touch on the rules too much. I don't want to get bogged down in the rules because I've shown you how to play this game. But I will touch on them now and again because I think it would help anyone who's not caught up with Mage Knight. I mean, I think that series I did now was quite a long time ago, 6 years ago maybe. So I'll touch on the rules a little bit. But we do need to do a little bit of setup, and that's to go through these tokens and look for the Elementalist ones. What you'll notice is in just at the bottom here, just to the right of where the fame is, there's a Dark Crusader icon or an Elementalist icon. Okay, shows up a little clearer here. We want all the Elementalist ones, in particular for our rampaging enemies. So these are red, Draconum, and the green, what were orcs. Okay, so let's do a little bit of setup and we'll dive straight into gameplay. I'm going to play Brevlar because he's part of the expansion. I might as well play him. Here's his miniature. A classic dwarf in a fantasy setting. I'll get set up and then I'll briefly touch on how we've set this scenario up, and then we'll dive straight into gameplay. We're pretty much ready to go. The Elementalist token, this represents a High Priestess who's hiding out in the Hidden Valley, which we're going to set up in just a moment. Now in this scenario, I think movement and fame are going to be tricky to come by. This is going to be about getting those advanced cards as quickly as possible, boosting up our deck, finding that priestess. We've only got 2 days, 2 nights, finding that High Priestess and defeating her. Okay. She's going to start on level 4. We'll look at that when we come to the faction token battle. For now, we'll just put her aside. Here's our starting tile with a portal on it. We want side A because we're going to be playing a wedge-shaped map. And from core tiles, we don't need Vulcan's Camp, so place that aside. Here's the 4 cities. We only need the white and the green. The red and blue will set aside. The white city tile is going to be the Hidden Valley. All right, this is going to get mixed in with the core tiles. We want one more core tile. The green city, we don't have to conquer. That's going to start the game as a conquered city. So when we find it, we'll just go there, okay? And we can recruit units there and use the benefits of the city as normal. We're playing solo, so we want 5 countryside tiles. Okay, the rest can go back in the box. Obviously, as normal for the start of the game, we'll place our starting tiles. Be sensitive to their orientation. All right, not a great start, I don't think, because we've got this huge desert here. And we've got a couple of Mage Towers, though. So this is going to be interesting. Now I've pulled out the reference card for Brevelier and also for Krang. So Krang is going to be our dummy player. Here he is set up, 2 red and 1 green tiles. I've pulled out 2 shield tokens that we might need to use throughout the game. We've got some sites to set up. We've got an ancient ruin up here. We've got 2 rampaging enemies. We've got a village and 2 mage towers and some lakes to potentially navigate. So already I'm looking at this and thinking, right, this huge desert's probably cutting off my access this way, and I'm more likely to be wanting to travel this way. It's a shame because villages are good. It would have been nicer if these 2 tiles were perhaps the other way around, but still. Always be thinking about stuff. Now, all of our enemies in this game will come from, our rampaging enemies, will come from the Elementalists. So if we look up here, I've separated out the Elementalist Token. There should be 4 of them and 8 rampaging orcs. Now obviously they're not all orcs anymore, we just call them that. And we're going to need 2 for the start for these 2 tiles here. 1 here, 1 here. Now all of our rampaging enemies will have the ambush ability. Right? I'll talk about that when we get to it. The exception are the ones that we place during setup. So these 2 don't have ambush. Let's place Brevelier on the portal at the beginning. What ambush means is, you know, normally if you go adjacent to a rampaging enemy, let's just take 1 away. If I move from 1 space adjacent to a rampaging enemy to another space adjacent to a rampaging enemy, we provoke that enemy and it attacks us. The difference is with ambush, it's not just all those tiles adjacent, it's all the ones 2 spaces away, and at the beginning of the game the portal will be 2 spaces away. So our starting ones don't have ambush, but when we come to it, we start revealing new tiles, we will encounter ambush. The other ability this game introduces is pursuit. You mark an enemy that's pursuing you. Let's switch this one over. Let's have a look and see what we've got. Some crystal sprites. It's only got 1 fame. One of the things with the Elementalists is that they're rampaging orcs, these green ones. These are sprites. They don't have much fame, so fame's hard to come by. I've already said fame's hard to come by, but anyway, what pursuit would do is when one of our heroes ends its movement and on their turn any enemy marked with their shield is pursuing them, they'll just move 1 space towards them. Alright, so rampaging enemies do rampage when they've got pursuit. Now in this scenario we don't have pursuit, these are all stationed with ambush instead. Okay, what else do we have? Another set of sprites. So 2 lots of sprites with 1 fame each. Now all your regular enemies just shuffle in, alright? Even the Dark Crusader enemy tokens, shuffle them in. It's only those 2 sets of rampaging stuff that we need separated for the Elementalists. Right, these are face down. They'll only get revealed when we're adjacent to them. Maybe what's revealed on these ancient ruins will determine which way I go. I don't know, I'm not decided yet. So ancient ruin, grab 1 from the box, place it down. Alright, that one's nice. So for 3 red mana we get 7 fame. So that's a whole bunch of fame, but we will have to move through this Mage Tower to get there. I'm not sure, this is tough. This is going to be really tough. If you're used to watching me win this game, now, I don't know, let's see what happens. Right, we draw our starting hand of 5 cards. The other thing to note is that in this game, normally you would only use 3 mana dice, but in this scenario you get an extra 1. Okay, so we've got 4 to start the game. Okay, that's a good start. 2 red, green and gold. We've got at least 2 basic. And of course that means we get 4 starting units as well. So we've got scouts, red cape monks, foresters, and Uton guardsmen. Alright, the advanced actions offer's done, the spell offer's done. Our reputation set and our fame are both set to 0. We're ready to go. Let's see what our hand is and then we'll decide which way we want to go. One with the land, so that's good. We've got move 2, heal 1 or block 2, doubled up for stronger effect. So this is Bravelar's special. We have crystallize, we've got promise, swiftness, improvisation. So I've got a fair bit of movement. I've got to think about which tactic we're going to take for the start of this day and where we're going to go. And what I don't have is much in the way of attack. So I've got some influence, I've got some move, get a crystal, I've got move. All I've got is this 1 card which gives me attack or block. So I don't have much for doing that, so I might choose a tactic that's going to give me a little bit more in the way of attack potentially. Let's see. So tactics. There's day tactics and there's night tactics. We get to choose our tactic first. And there's different numbers of tactics, 1, 2, 3, and the numbers on them determines the initiative. Whoever picks the lowest number gets initiative, so if I pick a low number tactic, remember I get to pick first, I potentially get to take the first turn. A higher number, chances are I'll go second. And what that kind of means is 1 less turn in the solo game potentially. Potentially the round is going to end 1 turn sooner. It depends how the cards fall. I would typically go with planning because it means 2 extra cards every turn, but I might save that and actually go for great start because I'd really like to get some attacking cards in my hand. So I'm going to go with great start. What you do then is shuffle up. Now the problem is we might lose a card. In this scenario, whichever tactic dummy picks is out of the game. Rethink. Okay. Alright, rethink. So he's going first because he's got the lowest number. We go second, but when you take this tactic, we immediately draw 2 cards. Alright, these go back in the box. Draw 2 cards. Give me some attack. March, move 2. And Druidic Path, move. Right, we've got lots of movement, which is not what we wanted at all. Not what we needed at all. But it does mean I could use 1 with the land for blocking instead. Right, let's see. Right, he goes first. So, dummy. Dummy draws 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We want to see red and green ones disappear if we can. The third card, that's bad news, is a red one. There's 2 red crystals, so that means we have to draw an additional 2 cards. Doesn't matter what colour they are now, right? We ignore that. Even if it was another red or a green, we don't continue drawing. Right, so this is dictating the pace of the game for dummy. Alright, what do I want to do then? I don't have much in the way of attack, so I think I'm going to move. I've got lots of move actually, so moving through this desert is now maybe not as bad. So let's move in here and have a peek at this Mage Tower. For folks new to Mage Knight, this is called the source. Every turn you can use 1 die from the source. So I've got green, red, or gold. Gold is wild, and gold can act as one of the other 4 basic colours. Okay, black can only be used at night, and it helps you charge your spells. Right, so we've got blue, green, red, yellow, white, and gold here. What's that red? The other thing is on here is it shows you the move cost for different types of terrain. So for example, deserts cost 5 movement, forests 3, plains 2. Okay, so these are the different types of terrain around me. Mountains and lakes I can't move through at all. These smaller numbers here just tell you that during night time it's currently day, but during night time it costs more to move through the forest. It costs 5, but less. It's cooler at night in the desert, so less effort to move through the desert is at night. So I've got a choice. I can come in here perhaps with 3 movement, that's forests, and have a look at both of these, or I could move around here for 4. Alright, so I might just use druidic paths to move into those forests. Okay. Each card has 2 effects, a basic effect and an advanced effect. You can use one or the other, but to use the advanced effect you need to charge it with mana, and that's typically your dice from the source. Okay, so gold could be used as blue here, for example, and that would give me move 4. I only need move 3, so I don't need this. But it does say, it only gives me move 2, but it does say the move cost of 1 space is reduced by 1 this turn to a minimum of 2. So I'm going to use druidic paths to move through these forests, which normally cost 3, reduced by 1 to 2. Okay, that takes me in here. Right, that card's now used. So I put it in my player area here. Right, what I'd like to do now is have a go at these sprites. I'd like to have a go at these, and then potentially move up onto the hills or even on through to the desert. If I move up onto this hill space and then have a peek at this Mage Tower, what Mage Towers tell you is during the day, if you're standing next to them, you flip them over to see what's inside. If I don't like the look of it, maybe I'll move on through, so I've got lots of movement. But these sprites are in the way first. If I moved here, I would provoke those sprites, moving from one space adjacent to another space adjacent to a rampaging enemy, provokes them and they attack us. We have to defend ourselves. Or if I'm standing next to them, I can choose to attack them. Typically, you have to assault a site. So if I wanted to attack this Mage Tower, it's sitting in a desert, which costs 5 movement. I'd have to raise 5 movement from my hand to assault it. Rampaging enemies are an exception. I don't have to assault them. I can just, as my action, attack them. All right. During the turn, you do 2 things. You move and attack, but movement is optional. All right. Move and action, I should say, because there's other actions other than attack. All right. This technique called using your influence. Okay. Interacting with sites on the map. Right. But we're not interacting. We're going to attack. So as our action, we've moved. We can attack, and we're going to attack these sprites. Now let's have a look at them in more detail. This tells us they give us 1 fame. All right, if we defeat them, we get 1 fame. Fame lets us level up and ultimately gives us our end game score. Leveling up gives us better cards, better armor, bigger hand size, some special skills, these things. Fame is the thing that we're chasing in this game. Right, these 2 ones here, these are his attacks. He's going to do 2 strength 1 attacks. Typically you have a fist that shows you it's a physical attack, but some attacks and blocks, you attack with attack and you block attacks with block, have an element added to them. The elements are either physical, right, no element at all effectively, fire or ice. Okay, there's a third, which is a combination of fire and ice. It's called cold fire, okay, which acts like fire and ice. These are ice attacks. What that means is only fire is efficient. Fire block is efficient against them. Typically to block an attack, to block a strength 1 attack, you need 1 block. But if you're inefficient, you need double that. So to block an ice attack with something other than fire, so with a physical attack, with a physical block or with an ice block, you'll need double. All right? So to block a 1 strength ice attack, we'll need 2 block. All right, if it's inefficient block. All right, if I add the element of fire to it, so if it's a fire block or a cold fire block, then it's efficient. It's 1 for 1 still. All right. Complicated way to start, but that's what we have to do. We can choose not to block these attacks. If we don't block the attacks, then we'll get wounded. Damage is going to wound us, then get reduced by our armor, and then damage us again, and then continue to get reduced by armor and keep doing wounds until that damage is reduced to 0. Okay, I'll show you that when it happens. This up here is its armor. How much attack do we have to do it a wound? And if we do it a wound, we kill it. Okay, it says 1. So all we need is 1 attack and we defeat this thing. However, it's got this special, and it's number 2, kind of faintly here in number 2. This is called the elusive ability. If we're attacking this with ranged attacks, with our bows and arrows, for example, then it uses the higher value, the number 2. All right, we need to do 2 ranged attacks to defeat it. If we choose not to block the enemy, okay, we let its attacks go through, it uses the higher armor value, the value of 2. If, however, it attacks us and we block all of its attacks, then it uses the lower armor value. We only need 1 attack to defeat it. There's a couple more icons here. This blue one means it's ice resistant. That means ice attacks are inefficient. Okay, so if we're doing a physical attack, a fire attack, or a cold fire attack, then every point of attack does 1 damage. If, however, we're using an ice attack, then it takes 2 attacks to do 1 damage. Okay, typically 1 attack is 1 damage. Right. This second icon here, this shield with a number 1 in it, this is called the defend ability. This will increase their armor by 1, that number in there. If there are multiple enemies, then the first enemy you attack in a group of enemies where one of them has defend, that 1 will get added to the first enemy you attack. All right? These sprites always run to the defense of the first enemy you attack. But anyway, in this instance, what it means is this is now a 2 and this is a 3. So those 2 1 attacks I need to block separately. Let's use swiftness. I'm just going to try and take this thing out. So I've already told you I can use 1 mana from the source each turn. So I'm going to take this gold one and change it to white. And with that, I can charge swiftness. The strong effect of swiftness is ranged attack 3. Okay, so it's move 2 or ranged attack 3. Now this sprite, because it's not blocked yet, because we're doing a ranged attack, has armor of 2. And because it has the new defend ability, that 2 is boosted to 3. But my ranged attack 3 will take it out. It's not an ice attack, so it's not inefficient. Okay, remember they're ice resistant. So we take out that sprite. That's going to give us 1 fame, but also +1 reputation, because we're defeating a rampaging enemy. And also, because it's an elementalist, it gains us an elementalist faction token. Okay. Those are all combat rewards, so we're going to take those at the end of the combat. So I'll just take that and place that here for now as a reminder. Right, there's nothing more we can do because on your turn you move and then act. We've moved and then we act. Our act was to attack. Alright, so let's end our turn here. And discard the cards we used. We re-roll the mana die. This goes back in the source. It's actually a white. We then take our end of turn rewards, which is going to be our 1 fame, our reputation, and our Elementalist Token. So we'll just place this up here in the discard pile. If we ever run out, then we'll just go and resort back to the regular rampaging icons. Okay, so we take 1 fame, 1 reputation, just for completing that rampaging stuff. And we take 1 of these square tokens. We'll see what it is. Okay, that's a good one. There is a reference card to help us with these. Here it is. These are the ones for the Dark Crusader. These are the ones for the Elementalist. This is a mystical map. During your movement, we can reveal a new tile at a distance of up to 3 spaces away, and it costs no movement. Right, so we can kind of see ahead of the map. There's one other benefit from defeating an Elementalist enemy, and that is that like the mystical map, it reveals a little bit of information about where the hidden valley is. And that reward is that we get to reveal a tile, and we can place it anywhere. So we're going to grab a new tile and decide where we're going to put it. I'm going to slot it in here and see where this middle one is. It doesn't have to be adjacent to where we are, it could be anywhere. Right, let's see what we've got. We've got some walls. Monastery, we've got a maze, we've got a camp here. Refugee Camp is pretty good because you can recruit all sorts of units here. The cost to recruit them has increased a little bit. We've got a rampaging enemy here. Now this one will absolutely have the ambush ability. Let's see what it is. We've got some Centaur Outriders. Okay, I do want to move through to here, I think. Now we need to do an additional thing. We've revealed a monastery, so we need to reveal an advanced action which will be available to us to purchase at the monastery. And it's chivalry. Okay, we've already got a hand size of 5, so we're not drawing any more cards. Okay, let's do dummy. 1, 2, 3. It's another red one. 2 cards extra. Don't like the way we're eating through our deck.